welcome to this deep dive. Today we're tackling something I think, well, everyone runs into. How to politely interrupt someone who's really going on a bit,
Oh, definitely.
that delicate dance. Because let's face it, we've all nodded along to maybe, I don't know, your cousin's detailed report on their cat's latest vet visit.
Aha, yes. Or the prize-winning zucchini story.
Exactly. But sometimes you actually need to, get a word in or just change the subject.
Absolutely. And we've all been there, haven't we? Wanting to jump in with something relevant, or maybe just ask a question, or even just gently steer things elsewhere.
Right.
And that's what we're digging into. Why do some interruptions feel okay, maybe even helpful, while others just land like a lead balloon? What are we really saying with those phrases we use? The ones that sound agreeable, but maybe have a hidden agenda.
Yeah, what is the strategy behind saying, oh, totally, right before you change the topic completely? Okay, so by the time we wrap this up, you listening should have a much better handle on this.
Yeah.
We're going to break down 3 different ways to interrupt politely.
3 tiers, we're calling them.
3 tiers, right. And we'll look at specific phrases, those little verbal Aikido moves that let you redirect things smoothly.
And we'll even unpack why something like, look, I don't mean to cut you off, actually works sometimes.
Yeah, what's the deal with that? Okay, so the goal here is for you to feel equipped, to take back the conversation when you need to, gracefully.
Let's dive in. So, that first level, tier 1, we're calling it the soft interruption, or maybe think of it as the I'm engaged signal.
Okay, engaged signal. So this isn't like faking it, faking listening.
No, not quite. It's more about using phrases that show you are tracking, but they also kind of signal, hey, I've got something to add here.
Right, okay. Like a little flag.
Sort of, yeah. Think about saying, wow, that's so interesting. Now, okay, it sounds interesting, right?
Yeah.
But often the unspoken bit is, "Oh," and it makes me think of this other thing I want to talk about. It makes a little pause, a tiny space you can then fill.
Okay. So you acknowledge their point, and that kind of earns you a moment to speak.
Pretty much. You've paid the conversational toll, so to speak.
Ah, I like that. Okay, another one we found was totally get that, which in this context maybe feels less like profound understanding and more like a setup for.
Actually.
Exactly. Actually. And we all know actually rarely means let's keep talking about your thing.
Right. It's the polite way of saying, heard you, now over to me.
Okay, so that's the soft approach. What's tier 2?
Tier 2 is what we're calling strategic, the redirect. Here, the plan to change direction gets a little bit clearer.
A bit more obvious. Okay, so these are the phrases that are like conversational GPS recalculating.
Yeah, something like that. A classic example is, that actually reminds me.
Oh, yeah. Even if the connection is, let's be honest, pretty weak.
Or totally non-existent. What it really means is, okay, this topic isn't grabbing me, but I have something much more interesting to say. It's a pivot. You pretend there's a link, and then you just veer off.
The conversational sidestep. Very smooth. Okay, what else is in this strategic toolkit?
How about before I forget?
The manufactured urgency play.
Exactly. It usually means I'm definitely not going to forget this, but I do need you to stop talking so I can say it.
Right. It implies your point is super time sensitive, so it needs to jump the queue. Very clever.
It works surprisingly often. Okay, then we get to the final level, tier 3, which we've maybe slightly dramatically called, oh God, no, the emergency escape.
Okay, this is for when things have gone seriously off-piste.
Exactly. When the monologue has entered its 3rd act and you desperately need the curtain to fall, or you're just plain out of time.
These are the big guns, the conversational fire alarm. What phrases are in this kit?
Well, the classic is, I hate to cut you off, but...
Which, let's be real, often means the exact opposite.
Right. I am delighted to cut you off because, honestly, we were done here 5 minutes ago. It's like a tiny apology that doesn't really apologize, but does signal immediate stop.
You gotta admire the efficiency, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, what's another eject button?
Quick question. That's another reliable one.
The quick.
Yeah, the power is in that word quick. It suggests brevity, but as we know...
The question might be quick, but the answer or the new topic, it opens up. Maybe not so much.
Precisely. It's often just a way to slam the brakes on the current topic and swerve onto a new, hopefully shorter road. A quick escape, really.
Okay, got it. So we have the soft, the strategic, and the emergency levels. But how do we actually say these things without sounding like a total jerk?
Yeah.
How do we seem considerate while we're basically hijacking the conversation?
Good question. There are ways to soften the blow. One really useful one is the echo and pivot.
Echo and pivot. Okay, sounds like a dance move.
Kinda is. You briefly echo or agree with something they just said, then you pivot to your thing.
Okay, so like you connect first, then redirect. Give me an example.
You could say, totally agree, or that's a great point. See, validation.
Right, makes them feel heard.
Exactly. And then you hit them with, which reminds me, or, and that makes me think. It builds a little bridge before you drive the conversation over to your side.
Nice. Okay, another technique we found was the question distraction. Sounds a bit sneaky.
Well, it can be. The idea is you ask a question that seems related.
Seems being the operative word.
Maybe. But the real aim is to derail their current train of thought, to pull them off the track they're on.
So it's less about genuinely needing the answer and more about using the question to change the focus. How would that work?
Okay, imagine someone's going deep into the weeds on like one tiny detail of a project.
Right. Excruciating detail.
You could jump in with, wait, hang on, how does that specific thing connect back to the main goal we talked about last week?
Ah. So it sounds relevant, but it forces them to zoom out, to change perspective.
Exactly. It breaks the flow of the detail and shifts the conversation to a different level. Less collision, more lane change.
Subtle. I like it. Okay, the next one sounds, well, dramatic. The physical exit.
Yeah, this one's definitely more advanced. Requires a bit of acting, maybe.
Uh-oh. Are we talking fake phone calls?
Pretty much the classic example. The oops, sorry, my phone just buzzed. Gotta take this routine.
No way. People actually do that.
Oh, absolutely. The trick is making it look vaguely urgent, but not, too theatrical. And the pro tip,
Let me guess. The phone didn't actually buzz.
you got it. It's pure performance art to create a natural break.
Wow. Okay, that's commitment to escaping a conversation. And speaking of pro tips, we saw one that felt painfully true. Preface your interruption with just one quick thing.
Yes, because
Yeah.
it's almost never just one quick thing, is it?
Nope. We tend to underestimate how much we want to say.
That's human nature. Now, it's also really important to remember this stuff isn't universal. How people interrupt and how it's received varies a lot depending on culture.
That's a great point. So these techniques might land differently depending on where you are or who you're talking to.
Definitely. Take American culture, for example. Someone might just say, jumping in here, which is pretty direct.
Yeah, it basically means, okay, my turn.
Right. Fairly assertive, clear signal.
Okay. What about other places?
Well, in Britain, you're more likely to hear something like, if I may.
Which sounds super polite and hesitant.
But often carries the firm intention of, right, I'm talking now. It's just wrapped in a layer of deference.
Fascinating, that politeness veneer. Any others?
In Australia, you might hear, yeah, nah.
Yeah, nah, that sounds contradictory.
It kind of is. But in context, especially interrupting, it often means something like, okay, I hear you, but hold that thought. I'm coming in. It's a gentle but clear stop sign.
It's amazing how much nuance there is. Okay, so we also got some great stuff from you, the listeners, about how this plays out in the real world.
Yeah, we did. There was a brilliant story from someone who used That's Wild to cut into their boss's really long, rambling story. Okay, how did that go down?
Amazingly, the boss apparently thanked them afterwards for listening so intently.
No way. So the interruption was seen as engagement.
It seems so. It just goes to show sometimes those soft interruptions, the I'm engaged signals can land really well. Maybe the boss just felt heard and was ready to stop anyway.
That's incredible. Okay, and there was a listener hack too, little practical tips.
Yes, super simple but apparently effective. Just before you interrupt verbally, lean forward slightly.
Lean forward. How does that help?
The idea is that small physical shift signals non-verbally that you're about to speak. It prepares the other person subconsciously, so the actual words feel less abrupt.
Huh. Like a physical turn signal. I like that. Very subtle. It really shows how much body language matters, doesn't it?
Totally. Okay, so now we have a challenge for you listening. We're calling it the Interruption Spy Mission.
Ooh, intriguing. What's the mission?
Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is basically to eavesdrop on conversations your own, others this week, and spot these techniques in action.
Become an interruption detective.
Exactly. Listen for those phrases. Try to figure out the real intention behind them.
Like if you hear fascinating anyway, recognize that as the polite shutdown we talked about.
Right. And maybe even try out the echo and pivot yourself. Say, so true, speaking of, and just notice what happens. Does it work? Is it smooth?
Yeah, do a little field test. And what about the quick question?
Try deploying one mid-ramble. See if it shifts the energy, if it changes the course of the conversation. We even heard from someone who cut off let me circle back to that, with a simple, actually. and,
Really?
and apparently the original speaker just apologized and let them speak. Sometimes just calmly taking the space works.
Wow. The power is real.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, you should feel, well, more equipped. You've got the theory, the phrases, the levels.
Right. You understand the subtle art of the polite interruption now, whether you want to just escape a conversational black hole.
Or maybe gently guide things back to a topic you actually find interesting.
You've got the tools. Use them wisely. Go forth and navigate those monologues. Maybe even hijack a conversation or two, gracefully, of course.
Absolutely. And definitely join us next time because we'll be tackling something related, how to get out of awkward small talk. Like a spy.
Ooh, I need that. Because, yeah, sometimes, well, anyway,
Yeah.
just doesn't cut it, does it?
Not even close. See you then.